The cold is the first prayer of the day. It seeps through the thin penitent's cloth, a clammy benediction against my skin, a constant reminder of my wretchedness. Before the mistress's electro-whip, before the litanies of shame, there is only the mud of this forgotten world, and the pre-dawn chill that promises no warmth. I feel it on my scalp, shorn to the skin, and crisscrossed with old scars, each a testament to a sin I cannot wash away. I feel it in my bones, an ache that has become as familiar as the rhythm of my own failing heart. My sisters in disgrace are huddled around me, a pack of shivering, half-mad animals waiting for the culling. Their breath plumes in the gray air, mingling with the stench of ozone from the nearby motor pool and the acrid tang of promethium. Some rock back and forth, muttering the names of saints. Others stare into the gloom with eyes that saw too much on the day of their fall, their sanity now just a flickering candle flame in the hurricane of their guilt. I am not like them, not yet. I am quiet. I preserve what little warmth I have, focusing it inwards, a tiny ember of the faith that once burned like a pyre within me. My gaze is fixed upon my only sacrament, my sole path to absolution. It rests against a stack of munitions crates, its immense form catching the weak flickering light of a nearby lumen globe. My Eviscerator. It is not the pristine silver-chased blade I once wielded as a sister of the Order of the Valorous Heart. That weapon was taken from me, its purity no longer fit for my stained hands. This one is a brute, a slab of adamantium and whirring teeth, its casing scarred and pitted from 100 last stands, its power unit whining a low, hungry dirge. The purity seals that adorn it are not testaments to my virtue, but desperate, ink-scrawled pleas for forgiveness, penned by the chaplains in a script as jagged as my soul. To others it is a tool of butchery. To me, it is the key and the gate. It is the Emperor's judgment made manifest in steel. My hands, wrapped in coarse bindings, clench and unclench in the mud. I can almost feel its weight, the satisfying heft of it, the promise of the glorious, cleansing violence it will wreak upon the enemies of man. In that final, red moment, I will be his instrument again. That is all I crave. A memory, unwelcome and sharp as a shard of glass, pierces the cold fog of my vigil. The reek of burning promethium is the same. The rumble of a Lehman Russ engine groaning to life nearby is the same. I am back on Istvan's folly, the dust of a shattered hive city choking my rebreather. I am in my power armor, the blessed Aegis, its ceramite plates painted in the proud crimson and white of my order. Sister Helena is on my left, her flamer spouting gouts of holy fire into a tide of cultists. Sister Cassia is on my right, her bolter chanting its explosive sermon. We were the virtuous, the tip of the spear. We were invincible in his light. Then came the sound, a psychic shriek that tore at the very fabric of reality, a blasphemy given voice, a creature of the Imperium, a thing of too many limbs and whispers that promised galaxies for a single moment of doubt, tore its way into our world. Helena was incinerated in a blast of multicolored fire, her dying scream a prayer. Cassia charged, her faith a shield, her bolter spitting defiance. And I hesitated. For a single, damning heartbeat, I saw the raw, unbound power of the archenemy, and the faith that had been my bedrock for a century cracked. Fear, cold and absolute, coiled in my gut. It was a poison I had never known. By the time I lunged forward, roaring my fury to mask my shame, Cassia was gone, pulled into the warp stuff of the monstrosity's being. I slew the beast, my power sword a blur of righteous hatred. But it was too late. I had failed. One heartbeat. That was the price of my soul. The wet slap of leather on flesh jolts me back to the present. One of the other Repentia had begun to wail too loudly, and the Mistress of Repentance, ever watchful, had delivered a sharp correction with her neural whip. The girl shrieked and fell silent, her body twitching in the mud. The mistress stands over us, a silhouette of righteous wrath against the rising, polluted dawn. Her power armor is black as judgment, adorned only with a single stark icon of the Ecclesiarchy. She carries no bolter, no blade. Her only weapons are the twin electro whips that coil at her waist, and the burning, unwavering certainty in her eyes. She is our shepherd, our tormentor, our guide on this final pilgrimage. Your sin still clings to you like a shroud. Her voice, amplified by her helm's voxmeter, cuts through the morning air. It is not a shout, but a cold, hard statement of fact. It is a stain upon the Emperor's sight. You were his chosen daughters, afforded honor and glory beyond measure, and you spat upon it. You allowed weakness to fester. You allowed pride or fear or doubt to poison your spirit. Her gaze sweeps across us, and I feel it like a physical weight, pressing me down into the mire. I lower my head, my shorn scalp exposed to her judgment. I deserve this. I deserve every lash, every curse, every moment of this agony. It is the only currency I have left to purchase my redemption. But the God Emperor, in his infinite mercy, offers you one final path to grace, she continues, her voice ringing with the fire of the pulpit. A path of blood and pain, a path of sacrifice. She begins to pace before us, her armored boots sinking and pulling from the thick mud with sucking sounds. The heretic defiles this world. They build their profane spires and chant their foul litanies in mockery of his holy light. They are the nail that must be hammered. They are the cancer that must be excised. She stops before me. I can feel her shadow fall over me, can smell the sacred oils used to polish her armor. I dare not look up. You will be the Emperor's wrath. You will be his righteous fury. You will cast aside the weakness that damned you and become living saints in the moment of your glorious death. Your pain will be a prayer. Your blood will be a sacrament. Your end will be your beginning. She gestures with a gauntleted hand towards the horizon, where the jagged silhouette of the enemy stronghold cuts into the bruised purple sky. There is your altar. there is your absolution." She turns and strides towards a makeshift lectern where a hefty iron-bound book rests. The Liber Penitentia. As she opens it, her servitors activate the pain inducers. A low hum fills the air, and then it hits me. 1,000 burning needles sink into my flesh as the neural whips grafted to my spine and limbs come alive. It is not a crude, simple pain. It is a sophisticated agony, designed by the masters of the Ecclesiarchy to purify, to scour the soul through the torment of the flesh. My teeth grind together, and a guttural groan escapes my lips. Around me, the other Repentia scream, writhe, and howl, their penitents a chaotic symphony of suffering. I fight it. I try to channel the pain, to offer it up, but the sheer, overwhelming reality of it threatens to shatter my focus. This is the test: to endure, to find faith in the fire. The mistress begins to chant the litany of the fallen, her voice a powerful counterpoint to our screams. For the sin of doubt, the flesh must be torn. For the sin of fear, the blood must be spilt. For the sin of failure, the soul must be offered. My world narrows to the searing agony and the mistress's voice. The cold, the mud, the memories, they are all burned away by the white-hot torment. My body convulses. I bite my lip and taste the coppery tang of my own blood. And then something shifts. Deep within the heart of the inferno, a strange warmth begins to kindle. It is not a cessation of the pain, but something that blossoms within it, through it. The mistress's words begin to change in my ears. They are no longer just a litany. They are a key, unlocking something deep inside me. "Let the Emperor's gaze fall upon you," she chants, her voice rising in fervor. "Let it burn away your impurity and leave only the core of your faith." Her words seem to strike a resonant chord in my very being. The pain is still there, a roaring ocean of it. But I am no longer drowning. I am rising through it. A light, golden, and impossibly pure blossoms behind my eyes. The screams of my sisters fade into a distant hum. The whine of my Eviscerator, still 20 feet away, seems to sing a hymn only I can hear, its dormant teeth glowing with a faint internal luminescence in my mind's eye. The Emperor's gaze. I have heard the whispers, the mad ramblings of the other Repentia. A state of ecstasy where pain becomes glory. I had thought it a myth, a final madness. But this feels real. A single perfect image flashes in my mind. A golden eagle, wings outstretched, diving through a sea of stars. For a fleeting moment, the agony is not just bearable, it is beautiful. It is a conduit, a direct line to the divine. This is the seed, the first taste of the ecstasy I must chase into the heart of battle. The pain is the path, and death is the destination. The vision fades as the servitors deactivate the inducers, and the world comes rushing back in a wave of nausea and cold sweat. I lie panting in the mud, my body trembling uncontrollably. The fear is still there, a cold stone in my gut, but now it is joined by something new, something terrifying and exhilarating, a desperate, ravenous hunger for that golden light. I push myself up onto my hands and knees and look towards the heretic fortress. It is no longer just a bastion of my enemies. It is a cathedral of my redemption. It is the place where I will find that light again. And this time, I will not let it go. The journey to the front is a blur of mud and prayer. We are herded like livestock, a ragged procession of shorn heads and branded flesh, moving through the gears of the Imperial war machine. We are the lowest of the low. Our disgrace a palpable aura that makes even the most grizzled guardsman avert his gaze. They stand in their flak armor, laze guns held at a respectful low ready, their faces grim masks of discipline. They are the Imperial Guard, the mighty hammer of the Emperor, and we are nothing but the sins they are too pious to acknowledge. I see the contempt in their eyes, mingled with a sliver of pity and a large dose of fear. They see madwomen, hysterics sent to die. They cannot comprehend the terrible glory of our purpose. They do not understand that their long, thankless service is but a flickering candle next to the supernova of our single, final act. Once I would have felt a kinship with them, a shared sense of duty. Now I feel a chasm between us as wide as the great rift. I have my Eviscerator. The moment the mistress gave the signal, I scrambled from the mud, my movements driven by a desperate need. My hands closed around the cold, grooved grips of the weapon, and a jolt went through me that had nothing to do with the pain inducers. It was a feeling of completion, of rightness. The weapon is heavy, an anchor in the storm of my thoughts, its dormant engine a low thrum against my hip. I hefted it to my shoulder, the well-oiled machinery of its harness clicking into place over my penitent's rags. This brutal, unlovely instrument of death felt more like home than the gilded halls of my old convent. The other Repentia claimed their weapons with howls and shrieks, brandishing them like lunatics. I was silent. My communion with my blade was a private, solemn affair. This Eviscerator is my confessor, my executioner, and my savior, all in one. Its teeth will write the final verse of my life in the blood of heretics, and in its roar, I will hear the Emperor's judgment. The Mistress of Repentance drives us onward with sharp cracks of her electro whips. Not the full, soul-searing agony of the morning's ritual, but sharp, biting reminders. A lash catches my shoulder blade, and the pain is a starburst behind my eyes. For anyone else, it is a simple deterrent. For me, it is a key. The world flickers. For a heartbeat, the churned, corpse-strewn mud of the trench path under my bare feet gleams like polished obsidian. The gray, chemical-choked sky is streaked with veins of purest gold. A nearby coil of razor wire, rusted and menacing, shimmers as if it were a crown of silver thorns placed upon a martyr's brow. Then it is gone, and there is only the sting of the whip and the jeering laughter of a nearby Ogren auxiliary. The vision was fleeting, a mere spark, but it feeds the hunger. The pain is not the enemy. The pain is the gate. The mistress, my tormentor, is unwittingly becoming my high priestess. Her every blow a sacrament that brings me closer to the divine. A strange, twisted gratitude begins to fester in my heart. She flays my flesh to save my soul. And in her cruelty, she is showing me a truth more profound than any sermon I ever heard in the cloisters. We are pushed into a forward staging area, a wide, deep trench that reeks of stagnant water, fear sweat, and cordite. Here, the true scale of the coming assault becomes crushingly apparent. Ranks of Cadian shock troops, their faces impossibly young beneath their helmets, perform final weapons checks with grim efficiency. Tech priests chant binary prayers as they anoint the machine spirits of Leman Russ battle tanks, their engines growling a low, guttural bass line that vibrates up through the soles of my feet. The air is thick with vox chatter, a frantic, overlapping babble of coordinates, call signs, and last-minute orders. This is the precipice, the final moment of quiet before the symphony of destruction begins. My sisters in repentance are losing what little composure they had left. One, a girl whose name I never knew, is on her knees, clawing at the muddy walls of the trench and babbling a childhood prayer to Saint Celestine. Another is sharpening the already monstrous teeth of her Eviscerator against a discarded rock, a high, grating sound that sets my own teeth on edge, a wild, predatory grin on her face. They are breaking. Their minds, already fractured by guilt and torment, are shattering under the immense pressure of this final hour. They see only the abattoir ahead. They are afraid of the death that is coming. I am not. I have become afraid of something else entirely. That I might live. That I might fail to die correctly. The golden light, the Emperor's gaze, has given me a new and terrible purpose. It is not enough to simply charge and be cut down. I must offer a death worthy of the vision, an immaculate sacrifice. A quiet sob breaks my reverie. I turn my head. Beside me, huddled against the trench wall, is Sister Alara. I remember her from my old life. She was a novitiate when I was a Celestian, a quiet, diligent girl, with eyes full of awe. Her sin was cowardice, a failure to hold a line that cost a squad of guardsmen their lives. Now, her face is a mess of tear tracks and mud. Her knuckles are white where she grips the handle of her own crude chain weapon. "I can't," she whispers, her voice so faint it is almost lost in the din. "I can't do it. I am so afraid. The Emperor has abandoned us." The words strike me, but they do not resonate with pity. Instead, I feel a profound and chilling sense of detachment. I look at her trembling form and her spirit sickness, and I see a child crying in the dark. She is still trapped in the mire of her own earthly fear. She claws at the dirt when she should be reaching for the heavens. The Emperor has abandoned no one, I say. And my own voice surprises me. It is steady, clear, devoid of the tremor that racks my limbs. It sounds like the voice of the sister I used to be, but imbued with a new, harder certainty. He has simply given you a gift, and you are too blind to see it. The fear is the crucible. The pain is the fire. You must burn in it until only your faith remains. Alara just stares at me, her eyes wide with incomprehension and a new flicker of fear. Fear of me. She sees the change. She sees that I am no longer cowering in the same darkness she is. I have found a light, and its reflection in my eyes is terrifying to her. I have become isolated, not by walls or distance, but by a revelation she cannot share. Her suffering is an agony. My suffering is becoming an ecstasy. I turn away from her, my brief sermon complete. She is a lost cause, destined for a meaningless death in the mud. My death will be a prayer. My death will be apotheosis. A new sin, I realize with a distant part of my mind, is taking root in the space my old fear used to occupy. The sin of pride. A spiritual arrogance so profound it borders on blasphemy. I am not just a penitent. I am becoming his chosen instrument of death, a living martyr walking towards her altar. The mistress's voice cuts through the air again, this time through a powerful voxcaster that makes the very trench walls vibrate. Penitents! Behold the fruits of your failure. Her gauntlet points towards the heretic stronghold, a jagged silhouette of corrupted industry and profane architecture on the horizon. There the archenemy mocks the master of mankind. Their existence is an insult, a blasphemy written in stone and steel. You let their poison spread. Your weakness gave them purchase. Now you will be the cure. And then the final ritual begins. The servitors, with their dead eyes and methodical movements, activate the master pain inducer. This is not the sharp sting of the whip. This is the full, unrestrained symphony. It slams into me with the force of a thunder hammer. Every nerve ending is a wire plugged into a sun. My back arches, a silent scream locked in my throat. The world dissolves into a white-hot, roaring inferno of pure sensation. This is the ultimate test, to find him in the heart of this impossible agony. I clench my fists, my nails digging into my palms, drawing blood. I focus not on the pain itself, but on what it represents. Each searing wave is a sin being burned away. Doubt, fear, hesitation, all fuel for the pyre. Let his gaze find you, the mistress roars, her voice the only landmark in the maelstrom. Let it purify you. Let it make you worthy. My eyes are screwed shut, but the light is there. It blooms behind my eyelids, not the fleeting spark from before, but a glorious, expanding dawn. The pain does not vanish. It transforms. It becomes the pressure of a divine hand pressing down on my soul, squeezing out the last dregs of my mortality. The roaring in my ears becomes a choir, 1,000 angelic voices singing a Gloria of such sublime beauty that tears stream from my eyes. I am no longer in a trench on a cursed world. I am standing in the nave of a cathedral forged from starlight. The vaulted ceilings are galaxies. The pillars are comets frozen in their flight. And before me, descending from a golden throne that burns with the intensity of 1,000 suns, is the eagle. It is immense, its wingspan eclipsing nebulae. Its feathers are liquid gold. Its eyes are twin blue-white stars. It radiates a warmth that is more than heat. It is acceptance, forgiveness, love. It is everything I have yearned for since my fall. It sees me. It sees the rot in my soul, the shame, the fear, and it does not recoil. It embraces it. You are mine, a voice communicates, not in words, but in pure, overwhelming emotion that floods my being. You were lost, but I have found you. Your pain has made you beautiful. Your sacrifice will make you eternal. The vision is intoxicating, a draught of purest faith that drowns every doubt. This is it. This is salvation. But as the eagle draws closer, a single discordant note sounds in the celestial choir. It is so faint, so subtle, that I almost miss it. A single voice, just for a fraction of a second, singing a different hymn. A song of power, of ambition, of glorious selfish release. I look into the eagle's stellar eyes, and for a terrifying instant, I do not see infinite compassion. I see an infinite hunger, a possessive, ravenous fire that does not wish to forgive me, but to consume me. The golden light suddenly feels cloying, sickly sweet, like the perfume used to mask the scent of decay. The promised ecstasy is not one of union with the divine, but of total annihilation of the self, a blissful surrender to a power that wears the emperor's face as a mask. Is this his gaze? Or is it the eye of the storm, the calm center of the great enemy's deceit? A temptation so perfect, it mirrors salvation itself. The thought is the ultimate blasphemy, and I recoil from it in horror. No, it cannot be. My faith is weak, my soul is stained. That is why I see this taint. It is my own corruption I see reflected in its perfect gaze. I must trust. I must surrender. I force the doubt down, crushing it with the sheer force of my will. I choose to believe. I must believe. Boom! The world returns in a cataclysm of sound and fury. The first shell from the Imperial basilisk batteries screams overhead and impacts the distant fortress with a ground-shaking crump. The vision shatters like stained glass. I am back in the trench, on my knees, gasping in the mud. The pain from the inducer is gone, replaced by the bone-jarring thunder of the opening bombardment. The air rips apart with the sound of 100 heavy guns firing as one. The sky, which moments ago held galaxies, is now lit by the constant strobing flashes of muzzle blasts and distant explosions. My sisters are screaming, some in terror, some in bloodlust. Ilara is curled into a ball, her hands over her head. The mistress stands impassive amidst the chaos, a black statue of judgment. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic, wild drumbeat. The fear is there, the primal instinct to burrow into the mud and hide. But the hunger is stronger. The vision, with all its terrible beauty and its sliver of doubt, has left me hollowed out and starving for more. I no longer care if it is the Emperor or some other darker god. The promise is the same, an end to this life and a final glorious immersion in that all-consuming light. I get to my feet, my body trembling with a mixture of terror and savage anticipation. I grip my Eviscerator, its metal cool and solid and real. I thumb the activation rune. The motor whines, and the adamantium teeth begin to spin, slowly at first, then building to a hungry, high-pitched roar. The sound is the most beautiful hymn I have ever heard. I look towards the enemy line, at the hellstorm of fire and shrapnel erupting around it. It is no longer an obstacle. It is the gate, and I am ready to pay the toll. The signal is not a word, nor a voxhail, but the cessation of one. The thunder of the artillery stops. For a single heart-stopping moment, an unnatural silence falls over the battlefield, a held breath before the final ragged scream. In that vacuum, I hear only the blood roaring in my ears and the hungry thrum of my Eviscerator. The Mistress of Repentance raises her right hand. No ceremony, no final litany. Her work is done. We are forged, tempered, and aimed. Her hand drops. That is all. It is the fall of the executioner's axe, the release of the grab-shoot's clamp. It is permission to die. A collective, inhuman howl erupts from the throats of my sisters. It is a sound of madness and glee, of terror and triumph. They surge forward, a wave of branded flesh and whirling chain blades, clambering over the lip of the trench and into the churned hell of no man's land. I am with them, my bare feet sinking into mud thick with blood and chemical filth. The world explodes into motion. The air instantly becomes a lethal sleet of energy beams and solid slugs. The snap hiss of La's fire is a constant, deadly whisper past my ears. Autocannon shells pound the earth, throwing up geysers of mud and mangled corpses. I see the girl who was clawing at the trench wall take a direct hit from a heavy bolter round. She does not scream. She simply vanishes in a red mist, her Eviscerator flying end over end into the air. I see Alara, her face a mask of pure, catatonic terror, stumble and fall, a trio of Losburns stitched across her chest. Her fear was her only prayer, and it went unanswered. I feel nothing for them. Pity is a luxury I cast off long ago. They are merely the first tithe, the opening sacrifice. My world narrows to the 100 yards of blasted earth between me and the enemy parapet. I run. My legs, corded with muscle from a lifetime of war and a year of penance, pump like pistons. My lungs burn, drawing in air thick with the taste of ozone and roasted meat. My Eviscerator is an extension of my will, its weight a comforting anchor, its roaring teeth a promise. I am not thinking, I am not praying with words. My prayer is the act itself, every stride a verse, every ragged breath a chorus, the roar of my blade a gloria to the god of battle. The heretics rise from their trenches, their forms silhouetted against the fires of their burning stronghold. They are a wretched mob of traitors and mutants, their faith placed in fickle gods who promise only damnation. Their return fire is a storm, but it feels distant, impersonal. They are not shooting at me, the fallen sister of the Valorous Heart. They are shooting at a force of nature, a hurricane of righteous desperation. Then, pain, white-hot and absolute. It is not the controlled, purifying agony of the neural whips. This is the crude, messy pain of the battlefield. A piece of shrapnel from a nearby mortar blast has torn through my thigh, shearing muscle and grating against bone. My leg buckles. I go down, crashing face first into the bloody mire. The impact drives the air from my lungs in a gasp. For a moment, there is only the searing agony and the taste of filth. The cold stone of fear returns to my gut. Is this it? To die here, halfway to my altar, crippled in the mud like a wounded animal? To fail even at this, my final task? The blasphemous thought that I might not be worthy, that my sacrifice is meaningless, threatens to drown me. No, I groan, the word a choked bubble in the mud. I will not die here. I will not allow this pathetic end. With a roar that is torn from the deepest well of my soul, I force myself to my knees. I channel the pain. I embrace it. I offer this new, savage torment up to the vision, begging for its return, pleading for the strength to finish my pilgrimage. And the gaze answers. The world does not fade, it shatters. The battlefield vanishes, replaced by the celestial cathedral. I am on my knees on a floor of obsidian stars. The angelic choir is deafening, a physical pressure that vibrates through my very essence. And before me, the golden eagle descends, larger and more terrifyingly magnificent than ever. Its light is so bright it should incinerate me. But I feel no heat, only a consuming, absolute presence. The discordant note I heard before is no longer subtle. It is a foundational chord in the divine symphony, a deep, resonant thrum of immense predatory hunger. The stellar eyes fix upon me, and in their depths I see the lie. I see the trap, laid with perfect divine artistry. This is not the Emperor's compassion. It is the warp's bottomless thirst, wearing his mask. It offers ecstasy in exchange for my soul, a blissful oblivion in its glorious, deceitful light. It wants to consume my faith, my sacrifice, my very identity, and make it part of its own endless, screaming existence. And in this moment of ultimate terror, a strange and terrible calm settles over me. The final temptation is laid bare. Surrender to this beautiful lie and be dissolved, or cling to my own wretched soul and die in the mud. The choice seems impossible, but then a new thought arises. A truth forged not in a convent's library, but in the crucible of my own sin and suffering. What if I am asking the wrong question? The Emperor is not a benevolent father to be understood. He is the master of mankind, and his Imperium is built on 10,000 years of blood and sacrifice. He does not offer comfort. He demands duty. This vision, this entity, this beautiful, hungry God thing, it is a power. Its source is irrelevant. Whether it is a shard of the Emperor's light refracted through the madness of the warp, or a demon wearing a holy shroud, it offers me a weapon, the strength to complete my task. My faith is not in the vision. My faith is in the act the vision empowers me to perform. It is a tool, and I am his instrument. I will use this divine or unholy power to serve a human purpose, my redemption. I accept, I whisper to the terrifying light, not in surrender, but in defiance. I open my soul, not to be consumed, but to draw the power into myself. The golden eagle seems to halt its descent, as if surprised. Then it surges forward, not to devour me, but to merge with me. The light pours into me. The choir becomes my own heartbeat. The hunger becomes my own righteous fury. I am on my feet. The pain in my leg is a distant memory. The wound is still there, weeping blood into the mud, but it has no power over me. My body is merely a vessel for the fire that now scours me from the inside out. I am no longer myself. I am a living prayer of wrath. I surge forward, no longer running, but flowing across the battlefield like a river of fire. Lost bolts part around me, or sizzle against an unseen shield of pure will. I do not see the individual heretics anymore, only the sin they represent. I reach their trench line. I do not leap down. I crash into it like a meteorite, my Eviscerator leading the way. The first heretic to meet my charge is bisected before he can even scream, his foul blood a sacrament on my blade. Another raises a crude auto-pistol. I smash it from his hand and drive the roaring chainsword through his face. They are insects. They are filth. My movements are not my own. They are fluid, precise, and utterly lethal, guided by a battle hymn only I can hear. Through the red haze of slaughter, I see him, my absolution. A hulking traitor in scarred, soot-blackened power armor, a Voxcaster unit on his back, screaming orders and encouragement to the rabble. On his shoulder plate is the profane symbol of the word-bearers. He is a shepherd of lies, a corrupter of souls. He is the source of this infection. My eyes lock onto him, and my new terrible purpose becomes utterly clear. I carve a path through his bodyguards, my Eviscerator singing its joyous, bloody song. He turns to face me, a look of contempt on his face that shifts to surprise as he sees the light in my eyes. He raises a crackling power maul, a weapon that could shatter ceramite. He is a giant of a man, a veteran of the long war, and I am a half-naked, wounded penitent. The fight should be over in a second, but he is fighting a mortal woman. I am not. He brings them all down in a crushing arc. I do not dodge. I move inside his swing, the weapon's energy field searing my shoulder as it passes. The pain is glorious. I ram my own shoulder into his chest, a move of pure suicidal desperation. He stumbles back a step, surprised by the raw force of it. It is all the opening I need. With a final exultant roar that is half my voice and half the shriek of an avenging angel, I thrust my Eviscerator forward with the full power of my body and my faith. The whirring adamantium teeth bite into the thickest part of his breastplate. Sparks fly, armor screams, and then the blade sinks deep into his corrupted flesh. For a moment, his eyes, wide with shock and pain, meet mine. He sees his doom. He sees the golden fire that burns there. Then I pull the trigger guard, revving the motor to its absolute limit. His body convulses, and he comes apart in a fountain of gore and shattered ceramite. I stand there over his ruined corpse for a single silent beat. The fire within me begins to recede. The golden light fades from my vision. The sounds of the battle rush back in. And with them, the pain. Not just my leg, but a dozen other wounds I hadn't even registered. Lost burns across my back, a shattered collarbone, something sharp in my side. I look down. The haft of a crude bayonet is protruding from my ribs. My strength leaves me all at once. The Eviscerator, its engine sputtering out, slips from my grasp and falls into the viscera, with a wet thud. I fall to my knees. The roar of battle is already moving past me as the guardsmen exploit the breach I have created. I am already forgotten. My task is done. There is no final vision, no choir, no golden eagle to carry my soul to the Emperor's side. There is only the churned mud, the smell of my own cooling blood, and the encroaching silence. The doubt I wrestled with is gone. The ecstasy was not the vision. It was this final, perfect act. The clarity of a purpose fulfilled. I have paid my debt. I am free. My final prayer was not a plea for forgiveness. It was the charge, and it has been answered.